Alright, what's happening, guys? I just got my bow restrung. I figured this would be a great opportunity for a how-to video. I'm going to have to re-sight this thing in. It's probably not going to be dead on more than likely since it got restrung. So I'm going to take you through the basics of how to sight it in. So if you're a new bow hunter, you just bought you a compound bow, hopefully this helps. So if you look close, you're going to have your housing here with your pins on it. On this one, this is a very basic setup. I've got 3 pins, and what I'm doing is I'm putting 20, 30, and 40. So I'm putting my pins at those ranges, and that's what I want them to be at. So we're going to start at the closest one. The top pin is going to be your closest pin always. So if you want to have more pins, you can. It's not hard. You can just put them in the side there. You can put as many as you want, up to probably 5 on this particular setup. There's pretty fancy ones out there now to where you can adjust the range after you sight it in. I think off of like 1 or 2 pins or maybe more, but like I said, this is a very basic setup. All I'm using is 3 different ranges. So we're going to start with the top. We want this at 20 yards. So I've already got my target set up at 20 yards. I've got a rangefinder, already ranged it perfectly. So we're going to start shooting at it. We're going to send 3 arrows down range and see if we can't get a tight grouping. And then from there, we'll adjust. So let's give it a go. Alright, first one down range, looks a little high. We're going to send 2 more down just to make sure before we make any adjustments. Just a smidge higher. That one pretty much hit the same spot and went through. So, we're not changing the direction of our shot even though we're shooting higher all 3 times. I'm still trying to keep it on the bullseye and making sure that that shot's going to go in those same places, which clearly it's shooting high. I went higher about 1 inch every shot. Let me go get these arrows and we'll start that process. So if you notice on this housing, you've got an Allen key here on the top. And what that's going to do is if you loosen that one, you're going to be able to adjust this whole piece left to right if you need to do that. You've got one right here on the side, and that one that moves left to right, if you loosen that one, it's going to allow this housing to go up or down. So I'm not too interested in moving this whole housing being a little high. What we're going to do, and these pins are a little low, what I want to do is I want to move these pins up. Since they're a little low, we're shooting high. What you want to do is you want to follow that arrow. So we're going to take that first pin that we're using for 20 yards and we're going to move it up a smidge. So I'm just going to take this Allen key, loosen it just a touch. We're not unscrewing it, we're just loosening it. And I've gone up probably not even 1/4 of an inch. So now I'm going to tighten it back up now that I've got it raised. We're not going to touch any of the other pins. We're only focused on that first pin. Alright, now we've got it tightened. Let's send 3 more down range and see where it's at. Still just a smidge high on that first one, and a little right. Alright, as you can see, all 3 of them have come down just a smidge. but we're shooting right. But I'm not going to focus on that left to right just yet. I want that thing level with bullseye, with what I'm aiming at, and then we'll go from there. So I'm going to get these arrows. We're going to adjust that pin up just a smidge more, probably another 1/4 inch, and shoot it again. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take this top pin right here. We're going to loosen it just a smidge to where it'll move freely. And then we're going to go up, because we're still shooting high, so we want to follow that arrow up. Once we get it up just a smidge, we're going to tighten it back down. Nice and snug so that it doesn't move. And we're going to shoot again. You got a hard wind like this, like today, you want to wait till it dies down a little bit before you shoot, because it will move that arrow. So I'm going to let this wind die down just a second, and then I'm going to shoot again. So we're coming down to the bullseye a little bit, closer to where we want to be. So we got a good tight group in there. We're still a smidge high. So I'm going to get these arrows. We're going to come down one more and that should do it. We're going to shoot to make sure and we'll go from there. Same thing. We're going to loosen with the Allen key just enough to move it. And that was pretty close, so I'm barely going to move it this time, maybe 1/8 of an inch. Not much. And we're going to tighten it back up nice and snug. Not over tightened, but tight. And let's try this again. I'm pretty good with that. We'll finalize it once we adjust left to right to make sure. But that height from here to me doesn't look too high, doesn't look too low. It's all within that bullseye range. You know, some of that's going to be user error. So that's what practice is for, getting a better, tighter grouping. But for now, I'm going to leave that height because that's in that range that we want to be, high to low. We want to be in that bullseye range. And we can tighten that up as we get that left to right down. Once we fix that, we can tighten it up even more if we need to once we're shooting. So I'm going to go get these arrows, and then we're going to start on left to right. So now what we're going to do, since we know we're shooting right, we've shot 3 or 4 times now, everything's gone right. So we're going to start moving this housing to the right. So if you're looking at it down this way, what you want to do is you want to take this housing here and you're going to move it that way to the right. So when you loosen this top screw right here on this housing, let me see if you can get that. We may need to get back in the light over here. So if you can see that, so if you can see that top screw right there, we're just going to loosen that just a smidge to where this will move freely. I can count the lines over here on the right side. I can count that it's on the 4th line. So what we're going to do, moving it back to the right, is put it on the 5th line. So that's all we've done, is we've adjusted it to the 5th line over there, moving the whole housing to the right, following the arrow. We're going to tighten that bolt back down, and we're going to shoot again. So, everything has moved left now, but we're still a smidge right in that bullseye, so we're going to adjust it one more line to the left and see where that puts us. Alright, I just realized my GoPro died. I think it got overheated out there sitting in the sun, so I'm going to zoom in and show you what we just did. So as you can see, everything's just a smidge to the right. And shooting just a smidge high too. We may have to come back and adjust that. But we'll come back to that. We're going to keep moving left to right for now. We'll make any final adjustments at the end. Alright, so we're on the 5th line. So now we're going to keep moving it to the right all the way to the 6th line. So we're going to loosen that. Now we can visibly see the 6th line on here. And we're going to tighten it back up. Now we're going to shoot again, see where that puts us at. So that's not the tightest grouping in the world, but I'm not upset with that. We got all 3, it looks like, in the bullseye zone. 1 may be a smidge high, but 2 out of 3 pretty close to center means that's pretty much where it's at. So I think I'm going to leave that 20 pin alone for now. I'll keep shooting after I adjust the others, and if for whatever reason it's shooting consistently high left or right, we can make our adjustments. But once I get all 3 of those arrows in that bullseye ring, I've pretty much got it where I want it to be. So that's pretty much all there is to it. So all you've got to do is go loosen this top one to go left or right, loosen the side one to make this whole housing go up or down. And if you need to adjust the pin itself, all you got to do is loosen the pin bolt and move it up or down. You can't move the pins left or right, but you can move it up or down. Let's get in the sun. So if you can see that, let's see. Let's take this off. So you can see those lines right there. For left to right, and then up and down, right there. And you can just move these, and you can use those lines as cheat codes, moving 1 at a time, 1 at a time. 1, shoot 3, 1, shoot 3. So I'm pretty much done with 20. I'm not going to fool with it anymore. So now I'm going to do the exact same thing I just did for 20 for my next pin for 30. And then you're going to go on from there. That's going to be my 30. Once I get that sighted in, more than likely what we're going to do, the left and right should be good. I shouldn't have to move left and right because all these pins are the exact same left to right. So all we're really going to have to do is move that pin up more than likely. That's all that needs to be done. Because if I move it left to right now, if I shoot at 20, it's going to be off too. And I like where we're at left to right on that bullseye. So there's no sense of moving it left to right anymore. All you have to do is adjust these other two here up and down. Hopefully that makes sense and I haven't overcomplicated it. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to shoot at 30. More than likely I have to move that pin up. Then I'm going to shoot at 40. More than likely I have to move that pin up to find where it's at on bullseye. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Very simple. If I can do it, you can do it. We can all do it. So hopefully that helps if you're just getting started out. Shoot them straight and have fun.